Hey, you wonderful people, want to make another video on the job market and getting hired as a web developer, because I think the biggest thing that I'm starting to see and realize is that when people are trying to find jobs, they're competing with other developers who are more qualified than they are for that work. And we all trying and striving to get that job. We all want that bajillion-dollar income, which I understand. But to say that there's no jobs available is different than saying there's no jobs that I want to do available. And I'm just going to show you. And by the way, I want to know your feedback in the comments because I want to keep this as honest as possible. Like, let me know if you're applying, what type of jobs you're looking for, what salary you're looking for, because that does help to kind of understand, is it all jobs are not hiring, or is it the jobs with the high salaries that you want with high competition that are not hiring you specifically because maybe you're not qualified? And this was a tough truth for me to deal with when first starting out, is the fact that a lot of times when I was not getting hired by the company is because simply I wasn't qualified for that job. And yes, that hurts, but we all have to start somewhere and we have to go with building blocks. And on my journey to getting to where I am today, I kind of had to do these different smaller level jobs as stepping stones. For instance, before I dive into this video, I started working at a marketing agency as a contractor, literally doing minor edits for PHP websites with a little bit HTML, a little bit CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, and tiny, if any, PHP. That's what I did. After that, I got my first React job because I finally was able to pass an interview and I was able to actually do the work that I was asked to do. I worked there for a while, and little by little, I moved up in my career. And right now, there's certain jobs that I know are beyond the scope of work that I can do. And to be honest, if I don't get hired by that company, it's probably because I wasn't the right fit for it. But I'm not going to say there's no jobs out there. There might just not be an ideal job out there for me. And the reason why I want to bring this up, and for a lot of you who are watching this, depending where you are in your journey, this could be a relevant video. But if you're starting out, just understand you have to go through the little stepping stones to build out your career as you continue through it. And one thing that I'm going to say to you is, I'm going to tell you the story. The reason why I smirk, because it blows my mind. I have a friend who all he does is set up Squarespace sites for folks, and he charges $100 an hour. And all he does is helps the client to set up Squarespace. He also does a little bit of ads and SEO for them, which is a skill that, yeah, you have to learn. He's not a developer though, and yet he's literally making more money an hour than most developers I know. And it's just, that's his thing. That's what he wants to do. And maybe some of us don't want to work on Squarespace sites. And maybe when you're first starting down with Squarespace sites, you're not going to make $100 an hour, because he built a reputation. He has a book of business and he's able to ask for that hourly rate. But what I'm saying to you is that there are jobs out there, and it's just, what is the job that you're willing to work? And for me, I'm a type of person where if I have no work, I'm going to take whatever next job is available. And if I have to sink and take a pay cut, I'm not ashamed to say it. If this is something I have to do, this is what I'm going to do. And some people are in a privileged position where they just refuse to go to that level. I'm not that privileged. If I need to work 2 jobs to make my ends meet, I'm going to do it. And so that's just to kind of put my mindset. So a lot of people, when they look for web developer jobs, they're always thinking of like going to cool companies, big companies. And the bigger the company is, the cooler it is, probably the harder your chances of getting into it because of the competition that's around it. So you have to kind of understand, like, this is where I am. This is kind of where the economy is. And so am I willing to go and do something else and do a work that may not be my ideal situation? There's Coding Face, he always talks about, like, you know, your most important part while you're on this journey is to get your foot in the door. And so I did like a quick search here. I'm local to Texas. I'm actually in Leander, Texas, but different jobs are available. There's junior web developer jobs, all these different companies, and they're not like, you know, they're not big companies. They're not like, who is like I never heard about like majority of these companies, right? It's not Amazon, it's not Google, it's, Charles Schwab's. I know what Charles Schwab's, and yeah, look, like 20 to $28 an hour, like you might not have the, $79,000. Oh, Tesla is hiring. Oh, great. Nice. So like there are people hiring, right? And so what I'm saying is that looking at these jobs, 2020, some people be like, oh, that's not enough money. It's not enough money. Hey, here's the thing. If you're trying to find a job, right, and you're not able to find one, three things are happening. Number one, there's no jobs. Okay, fine. We got that out of the way. There's no jobs at all. Number two, the job that you're gunning for, and which I think you should all try to get the best job you can, 100%. But the job that you're gunning for either might have too much competition and you might not be qualified for it, right? Or you're underqualified and you're competing with someone who's more qualified than you. And I'm just telling you, like, just my thought process here, thinking out loud, is that a lot of times we want to get the best for us, and that makes sense. And I totally understand that. And if you've been working in the industry for a while, you have this experience, you've been a senior developer, you made like bajillion dollars, you have the privilege of having the position that you have because you earned it. I get it. If you leave a job, the next job you want is to be equivalent or better. And I totally understand that. But if you're starting out, right, and you're trying to get your foot in the door, you have to understand that all of this takes time and building experience takes time. So I'm not saying don't try to get the best job that you could get and qualify for. What I'm saying is that there are jobs that are available. It might not be the ideal job that you want. It might not be paying the six-figure income that you want, but at least you're working in the field and you're building experience. So I just wanted to make this video because this is an observation I was making. And to kind of put things in perspective, when I got hired for my first job, I was desperate and I knew that I needed experience. I'm not saying you should do what I did, but I'll leave you with the story. My first job as a React developer, I was literally getting used. I was getting paid $13.50 an hour. Let that sink in. $13.50 an hour, that's nothing. But I literally came from being a self-taught developer. It's when I had the lowest self-esteem that I was like, I don't know who's going to hire me, but I really want to do that. And so I worked there and I worked at H-E-B supermarket to make ends meet. So H-E-B paid me $13.75 an hour. And then my actual dev job paid me $13.75 an hour. I worked there for a year and a half. I don't know why I worked there that long, but the work that I did there gave me enough experience to get my next job where I was making just a little bit over 80K. So I went from $13.75 an hour to 80K. And to be honest right now, if I was unemployed and let's say I tried to find work for 6 months and there's nothing there, I would be like, I would maybe be like, maybe I need to set my expectation a little bit more realistic to where I am. And I'm not saying it feels nice. I'm not saying that it's good. But that's just like, hey, and this could probably be like a very bad like advice and opinion, but I just want to put that out there. So when people say there's no jobs out there, they might be saying there's no jobs that they want to do because they're not willing to work for a little bit less money, which I understand. But to say that there's no jobs available, that's kind of unfair. And when you're just starting out and you're looking to get your foot in the door, you might be okay with starting at a lower rate. You might be okay working for your experience. And might be the type of market that we're in. Like people are able to be more choosy and more picky. And so because I am privileged to be where I am so happy that I work at a company where I work. But at the same time, if I got laid off and I lost my job, I would take whatever job I needed to be able to continue paying my bills. Like I'm not above this idea is that I have to earn a living to eat. You know what I'm saying? And so this is the reality that a lot of people live in. And so you could have, the tech bros telling you one advice, which for them, that advice is legit and it's true. But to normal folks, you also have to understand that whatever you hear on Twitter or on the news, it's not the only reality, right? That's the reality that happens to live on Twitter and happens to live on the news. But there's other realities, like there's plenty of jobs available. One thing that when I was first starting out looking for my first job, instead of applying to big tech companies, I applied to lots of marketing agencies that happen to offer website services. And that's how I got my initial experience. So throw all the hate in the comments. Tell me, like, I don't know what I'm talking about, which is fine. But if you want to give a little bit more value, share your true journey of what you've been doing and what helped you to either break into the industry or some things that are helping you. So others in the comments reading that could be like, hey, there's still some opportunity for us. Why not do it? And if it helps somebody, good. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry. But from my experience, this is what I had to go through, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. You know, I'm not above saying, hey, I'm too privileged to get and do whatever job is necessary for me to make a living. So on the end note, it's not that there's no jobs there. It's just, are there jobs that are beneath you because you're so up high on your horse that you're like, I don't know. I don't want to look down at the peasants below. And I'm sorry if I offended everybody. I didn't mean to offend anybody, but at the same time, like, I just want to share the more broader perspective of the common folks trying to break into the industry and thinking about it, that there's a small demographic of working the Googles and Amazons and those high level companies. And then there's everybody else. And so I think wherever you are on your journey, set your expectations accordingly and go for the jobs that make sense for you. So with everything that I said, if you made it this far, if you have high skill, you have the pedigree, you have the years of experience, and you in your past company made $250,000 a year, of course, it would be heartbreaking to know that you have to go backwards and you're always going to go. And maybe when you're looking for your job, the 6 months that you're unemployed is because you just like, I'm not going to take any offer that's at least 275. You know what I mean? But is it the economy or is it your expectations? And I think that I'm not saying you should lower your expectations, but I think you should be honest with yourself to know where you stand with your expectation and look for jobs accordingly. Anyway, probably complete nonsense, but I just wanted to make a YouTube video. So I'll see you in the next one.